Hello everyone, welcome to the Buddha's Boys YouTube channel. It's your boy Eustufius, back with a game of Age of Empires 2. So I'm playing Age of Empires 2 on the 1v1 rank ladder, playing my trusty Vietnamese, and my opponent is going to be playing the Persians. So this, all in all, is quite an interesting matchup if you ask me. These two civs I personally rank quite highly on the civ tier list, so to say. Actually, I think that both civs are very good, so I was quite excited about this matchup. The first thing that I noticed when loading the game was that my opponent was Persians, and the first thing that came to my mind was, if he goes for Savar, I'm good as dead. So for those who don't know, the Savar is the final upgrade to the Nightline for the Persians, counters basically all archer type units in the game. And I'm playing the Vietnamese, which are basically all about archers. So he would counter everything in my archery range as well as the unique unit. The saving grace is that that unit only comes in Imperial, so I don't have to worry about it until then. I'm thinking way ahead of my time, way ahead in the matchup by thinking about the Savar, but it's something I kept in my mind, back in my head. As for the matchup itself, I was thinking about, if it comes to Savar, the only thing that I have to counter it are halbs. And I'm thinking, okay, if I go halbs and counter the Savar, if it comes to that point, what would my opponent do? He has a couple of options. He can, probably his best option, objectively speaking, would be the hand cannoneer, but if he goes for Savar and hand cannoneer, he's gonna run into a trouble of using a 2 gold unit. Not ideal, but it can work. The generic way to counter it would be with the skirmisher, but the Persians get a notoriously bad archery range in general, not just the skirmisher. They lack bracer, thumb ring, and the archery line does not have the arbalister upgrade. So the skirmisher is not the best option due to that. In my opinion, their best option would be halb. Why halb? It's fully upgraded. Savar plus halb is one of the best compositions in game, in my opinion. It's very reminiscent of the Frank Paladin plus halb. And if I go halbs myself and he adds his own halbs, his halbs win because he has the final melee damage upgrade. I don't. So his halbs win. But again, that's way too into the future. I'm thinking way ahead of myself. That's basically Imperial and post-Imperial gameplay. Up until then, we have all the other 3 ages ahead of us. So, when it comes to the game, finally not a chicken Arabia generation, it was a deer Arabia. So, as soon as I found deer, I'm gonna spend time pushing it, because if I don't push it, I'm gonna be left behind in terms of eco. Luckily, the Persians are not really known for their fast castle approach, so I was not worried he's gonna do some shenanigans. As for the rest of Dark Age, it's kind of generic when it comes to me. I put 3 on wood. You should generally put, after you put your first 6 on food, you should put 4 on wood. 4 is generally recommended for newer players. 3, you'll put 3 fairly quickly in your playthrough of the game, because you'll realize that 4 is a bit too much. So 3 is pretty standard now at this point. The next step would be to put 2. I don't know of any build order that can allow less than 2 villagers. I tried with 2, it didn't really work, so I'm sticking to 3. No need to try anything fancy in a ring game. So I was lucky that for once my opponent actually dove underneath my TC. I managed to get a volley off, and now he took 2, what were they? They were not sheep. Yeah, let's call them sheep. I managed to get one back. The other one he sent into the Shadow Realm. I'm never gonna see that sheep again. Luckily, I was privy enough that I was playing the Vietnamese and that I can actually see his town center from the start of the game. He did the right thing. He tried to lure my scout underneath the TC so that I would make a mistake, maybe not pay enough attention, and would then lose my scout. Thankfully, I was paying enough attention on the minimap, so I did not fall for that trick. So at this point of the game, I did lure 2 deer, one was left. I decided when I saw his scout take damage, I was like, yeah, let's try and kill the scout. I thought I had a chance to maybe kill the scout, but since we're the same speed, his scout was able to run away. So pretty normal stuff. Second lumber camp, in total 8 to 9 on wood is what I feel comfortable with. On the way up, building the barracks because I want either the archery range or the stable. I almost made a mistake here by potentially losing even more HP on the scout. What I did with my scout is I wanted to see whether he's going to go for a stable or an archery range. I was expecting a stable, to be honest. It's the Persians. Their archery range, well, it's not the best, to put it lightly. I did not have a perfect Dark Age. I did idle my TC. This is something you should try and avoid at all costs. You are in Dark Age. There's no pressure from the opponent. If there's one time in the game that you should not have idle time on the TC, it's in Dark Age. So I could have done better. And then I saw archery range. I was like, and then 2 archery ranges. I was like, oh, okay. I myself wanted to go for archers. As you can see, I actually clicked on the archer. And then it dawned on me, I don't think that's the best approach. Sure, I'm Vietnamese, so I switched from an archer to a skirmisher. Sure, I'm Vietnamese, my archers have more HP. He's Persians with archers, not a good civ. It doesn't have good archers. It has serviceable archers in Feudal Age and Castle Age with no bonuses, although. But in Imperial Age, they fall off a lot. A lot. They're basically, I don't want to say they're unplayable in Imperial Age, but they're not far from it, to be honest. But I decided not to go with an archer because I'm thinking, okay, sure, my archers are better, but he has 2 archery ranges. I don't care how good my archers are, I'm not beating an army with half an army, if that makes sense. And I did not want to go for 2 archery ranges. I do not feel comfortable with that. I'm gonna play what I feel comfortable with. So I decided, okay, if he wants to go 2 archers, I'm not really familiar with this kind of playstyle. I thought it might be like an all-in feudal type thing. Haven't seen those often, to be perfectly honest. But I was quite scared. I thought he might want to provoke me into something, and then me not being comfortable in that particular regard. But yeah, it was. I was a bit struck with this. It was quite odd. So I decided, okay, no problem. I'm just gonna play defensive. I'm gonna use my skirmishers, which counter archers, plus my skirmishers get more HP. So, and I'll just play defensive and see what he goes for. Also, something I did not show, at the start of, fairly early in the feudal, I sent 4 villagers on gold, because you need 3.5 villagers, I believe, so you have to round that up to 4, in order to produce enough, to have enough gold to constantly produce archers. But when I switched from that 1 archer to skirms, I sent two of those gold villagers to wood. And here I made another mistake, and that's a really dumb way to lose a scout. My 2 big mistakes now, up until this point in the game, were the idle TC, which, yeah, this should have been 0, right? And losing the scout that cheaply. I was not that afraid because I did lower the HP of his own scout, so I was fairly certain that his scout can't cause so much damage to the point where my skirms can't deal with the archers. I was expecting him to come here. I moved the skirms to defend. This was quite annoying. Yeah, I was not happy about this. You could say I should have walled earlier, especially the gold, because it's, well, it's not exposed, it's not like in the front or anything, but it was an obvious target once he saw that the front was walled. So I decided I'm checking the archers constantly, and there are no upgrades, so I was a bit confused by all this. I was like, if you're gonna go 2 archery ranges and then not even upgrade the archers, I felt like maybe he was trying to lull me into a false sense of security with the skirms, or force me to go to skirms so he can proactively counter my skirms, which you'll see. So that was my thought behind. I think at one point I actually clicked on fletching. I must have missed that. I think I clicked on fletching and then decided, nah, he doesn't have upgrades. Let's not waste upgrades that I don't need, and then prolong feudal. My point now is to get to castle quicker than him. That was my point. That was my whole goal. I sent skirmishers. As far as I know, up until this point, he's only on archers. So I'm like, okay. I sent one skirmisher to one wood line, the other skirmisher alongside with the army. I lost track of his army, so that was a nice play by him. And then I saw this. So this was a dead giveaway that he's going to go for at least light cavalry, if not knights. I was like, okay, yeah, both of us had a bit of an issue when it comes to ping. Neither of us, I think, played as good of a game as we could have. I definitely, I don't know how bad it was for him, but I definitely had issues, especially early in the game, in Dark Age and Feudal Age, with the ping. So I was constantly checking the archers, and I don't think, I never noticed any upgrades while I was checking. So I was like, okay, he's not gonna go archers. He has 2 stables. It's clear he's going to go at least light cavalry and maybe knights. I was just hoping that he did not disrupt my economy too badly and that I would come to Castle Age faster than him. What I did not know at the time was the difference in the idle TC. I'm not really sure what happened. Might have been the lag. I guess both of us experienced lag, so I guess you be the judge. I expected to lose this army. I had no intentions of staying with skirmishers. Again, he's Persians. His archery range is not something you want to go with Persians. You don't want to go with archers. So I was like, if I send them back now, he might just send 2-3 scouts and he'll deal with all of this. I mean, this army is basically good as that. It's either going to die on its way back to my base, and I kind of don't have any use for it. I really did not think he was going to continue with archers, crossbows, and all of that. Again, he's Persian, so I decided, you know what? Let's at least be annoying. If this army is basically dead, which it turned out to be, let's at least, first of all, keep him off of the wood line. Right? That's at the very least, it's annoying. It forces him to go. It might have forced him to build a lumber camp here. I'm not sure, but at the very least, it's annoying. And it's basically a throwaway army. Could I use it a bit better? Sure. Did I use it to some effect? Also sure. And I sent these skirmishers outside with the intention of then sending them back again in to be annoying. Now, another mistake that I made was I started building a stable. I was kind of in between. I think I played a bit less than 10 ranked games with Vietnamese, and I really wanted to finally, for the first time, try the Vietnamese cavalry archers. I have not had the opportunity up until this point. I wanted to do it in this game, but in the back of my head was like, Savar. I really don't want to deal with Savar with a range, with a pro archer civilization. So I decided, you know what? If I come to castle quicker than him, I might as well just use the knights, which are broken in early castle, and just see where it goes. My problem was that I kind of was in between going for cavalry archers and just knights for the early castle, and I ended up building a stable after I reached Castle Age instead of on the way to Castle Age. So that was a mistake. And now we come to the point of the game where I'm definitely going to be on the back foot. So I did build one additional TC, which is my general play is to invest and then also build one TC at the start of Castle Age. Seems like I sent the skirmishers back in from both sides just to be annoying. There's no way they killed a single will. And this basically just forces them to either idle bit of eco or send a unit to kill it. It's nothing special. I started losing this fight. He had upgrades, he had the armor, the bloodlines, the damage, I did not. I did not. Here is where I started to panic. Luckily for me, I did have a back gold, so this main gold was not as important. I could rely on the back gold for the time being. And I was caught in between two minds. On one hand, I wanted to... I know he has at least 2 stables, and he's producing knights. Let's match that. Neither one of us has any special knights. He has against... because they do bonus against archers, but in a knight v knight, while in Castle Age, we're equal. It's really going to be down to whose eco is better. And I also built a monastery because I was like, okay, I lost the initial fight. He also has camels, which means my knights, they're not gonna do a lot. I was quite poor when it came to upgrading knights. I just got the first armor, while he has all the feudal age upgrades, and he does breakthrough. So not good, but luckily my monk scares him. So my monk play, well, is one of my weakest areas, I would say. It's definitely the one where I can improve the most. But at this point, I was like, I'm never going to match him knight for knight. He has the advantage. He killed my early army. I'm definitely in a bit of a pickle. I have to be defensive. Let's go with monks. Great defensive unit if I can properly use them, which obviously I was hoping I will. I was thinking, okay, I defend with monks and go with knights. Go with knights, and I added 1 scout because scout has a better line of sight. I did not know what he was up to. I was really focused on defending, and this angered me. I deleted the 2 houses because I wanted a 3rd TC. I wanted a 3rd TC to protect my main gold. And as soon as I deleted them and sent villagers in to build a TC, he so happens to be here. And thankfully my monks, the first 2 monks that died, did actually get the conversion off. I thought I might be dead here. Not like dead, but I was like, okay, this is the start to the end. This is where I fall apart, and this is where he gains momentum. Looking back at the replay, I think I was quite lucky that he killed only 1 unit up until this point. He was quite aggressive, but then I saw the siege workshop. So I was like, okay, just 1 unit, that's not bad. That's not bad. But then I saw, don't ask me what I was doing with this villager, but I saw the siege workshop, and I was expecting him to go forward. He did get the map control in early castle by simply having more knights or faster knight production and added camels. So I was not surprised with this. I was surprised at the placement of where he had it. I was expecting it more on the front of the base, but I guess he wanted to be sneaky. Fair play to him. It worked. It surprised me. And now I guess I'm being a bit stubborn, and I'm sticking to knights. Not sure. I think I accidentally clicked on scouts. It's okay to have a few scouts in, especially when he has monks. I also wanted to scout his base as much as possible to see what's going on, because at this point I thought, okay, he's done some damage. I did not think I had an eco advantage, so I was like, okay, I might try to snipe some vills, but these scouts ended up just being basically sacrifices to gain a bit of vision on his base, while I did my best to boot. And this is something I noticed, generally speaking, in ranked. This has been my experience, where the opponent is, again, generally speaking, better at microing units, while I'm, on average, better at the whole macro game. That's more of a strength than a weakness for me. As opposed to microing units, that's definitely one of my many weaknesses as a player. Obviously, I could improve at absolutely all areas of the game at this level, as is the case at this level. So I'm adding monks, and I'm thinking, if I manage to convert, and then especially if I convert camels, I have a decent chance at winning the engagement. And that's what happened here. So I'm thinking, okay, this is way too many camels. my monk micro is not the best. So I'm thinking eventually I can't stay on knights. I have to add the counter to knights. Sorry, the counter to knights and camels, which would be spearmen. At this point, I'm building a university as a secondary. Actually, I had two buildings. I didn't need any university. I had monastery and the siege. So I could have clicked to Imperial a bit faster, but I waited until the university. Okay, I clicked it now. And I sent guys on stone. I really wanted the defensive castle. That was at least the plan. Luckily, I was able to push him eventually. For now, I'm just destroying this. And let's see if I can do... If we can fight and if I can use the monks effectively. I guess he decided that there's too many monks. I'll get eventually lucky with some conversions. It's not the best. So now I decided, okay, I need a unit that counters knights, camels, and a potential Savar. So the thing with Persians have that, in my opinion, that Frank flavor. They're not limited civ by any means, neither are the Franks, but you kind of, I don't want to say you have to go for the Savar just as much as the Franks have to go, quote unquote, for the Paladin, but it's not far from that, to be honest. You really want to go for the Paladins and Franks, or for the Savars is the Persians. So I'm thinking I need a unit that will counter what he has currently in Castle Age, as well as a unit that will counter his ultimate unit in Imperial. And no, I'm not counting the War Elephant as a realistic unit that he can go for, his unique unit. So I'm going 5 barracks. I upgraded the pike and to the spearmen to pikemen. I started producing pikemen, and I want to get to Halb. I was hoping, I was pleasantly surprised that I reached Imperial before him. Again, I felt like he did more damage to me. Now looking at the replay, only 2 kills on eco, though he did idle my eco. He forced me to hide my units in town centers and all that. So there was he definitely did damage, but luckily for him, it wasn't as much as I feared at the time. So I'm like, okay, I'm first to Imperial. My pikes they'll beat this. I did not pick the best engagement. I was fighting uphill, but again, I'm pikes, he's camels. When I saw this, I thought this was the point where I can turn the game around. So thus far, I saw how much he invested into camels. This was quite a big investment in Castle Age when it comes to camels, which turned out, luckily for me, to be an over-investment on his end, as I did not have any intentions of sticking with knights later into the game, and my pikes, that's why I transitioned to pikes, and my helps came in at the perfect time. So I assume he took that fight thinking, okay, now is the time to fight. The opponent, aka me, is in Imperial Age. Let's fight before he gets the upgrades. Plus he's fighting underneath the TC, maybe even getting the hill bonus a bit. Maybe he can beat the pikes with camels. And then during the fight, my pikes get upgraded to helps, which is just too much for any camel in the game. So what I'm doing with this army, this is kind of a combination of knights that I built, scouts that I accidentally clicked on, and some of the camels that I converted over time. Similar to that skirmisher army, if you can even call it an army, in Feudal Age that I basically threw through the window. They were basically expendable, so I decided, yeah, just do some damage and die. That's basically what I'm doing with this army, because I'm not gonna stick. There's no point in of me sticking to this army. I can eventually transition into it if there's a need for it. I don't think there will be a need based on the matchup and based on what I know. All the Persians, so I just threw them away just to be annoying. Kill a couple of wills, idle the eco, get them off farms, just be annoying, while I fully went into full halb mode. So, thinking about the matchup, I was like, I'm not gonna switch into a different unit until there's a need for it. if I see a need to switch to a different unit, don't fix it if it ain't broke, essentially. At home, I did my best to boom to, yeah, 136 fills is basically all you need. And I did my best to use the monks in my spare time while I was knocking on the door of his base to collect the relics. I was quite confident and quite happy with how the game was going thus far. I expected him to switch into something to counter halbs, and I'm thinking, okay, hand cannoneer is objectively the best choice, but it's also gold intensive. I don't know his situation with gold. Just because it's the best counter doesn't mean it's something he can go for. Skirmishers, there's his other options are skirms and archers, and we're in Imperial. We're no longer in Castle. He falls off when it comes to the archery range. Like I said, he misses Bracer, he doesn't have the Arbalest upgrade, and I believe he also doesn't have Thumb Ring. An interesting thing that he could do is go for the unique tech, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but Commanderin, where his archers don't cost archer units, so crossbows in this case, don't cost gold but cost extra wood, a bit of extra wood. They're like a cheap, they become a trash unit, even though their archers, crossbows are actually a gold unit, they become a trash unit. But it's quite debated within the community how good they actually are. I was lucky to spot this. I sent a bunch of monks and even a scout to scout for the additional relics. I think I had 4. I was missing the 5th one. Don't know where it ended up in. But the moment I kind of got him off of, is it really 30 farms? A bit less maybe. Yeah, that was good. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna... I saw the archers, the crossbows. I assumed maybe he has the commander in unique tech, and they're not gonna cost gold, so he can spam them. But hey, guess what? I'm Vietnamese. The best anti-archer civ in the game. I can go for basically anything. All my archery range units, the archer line, the skirmisher line, the cavalry archer line, have more HP, or I can go for the unique unit, which is exactly what I'm doing. I have 2 castles here, I'm building a 3rd one. You know what, I'm not gonna bother with upgrading to the crossbow, to the arbalest, or the elite skirmisher slash imperial skirmisher. Let's just stick with the unique unit. It's in my opinion, a very good unique unit. It will serve the purpose in this particular match. I was careless with the trebuchets, that's absolutely true. I lost, what, 3 or 4 trebuchets. I should have paid more attention and actually protected them. I obviously couldn't protect them with halbs. The halbs were... Now the halb became a throwaway unit. Obviously you shouldn't just throw your units away like that, but if they serve a purpose, I mean, why not? Obviously the game was heavily in my favor and has been, I think, ever since that fight that we had where my pikes turned into halberdiers and just killed all the camels. I think that was the turning point in which the game turned in my favor. So that would be basically it for the game. Let me know what you think, and if you have any questions or any recommendations, any additional mistakes that I made in this particular game, which I'm sure I have, but perhaps I just did not notice them. So if you noticed any of the additional mistakes or anything that I missed, let me know. There's clearly a lot I can improve when it comes to this game, which is kind of the point of this series, hence the Road to 2k Elo playlist. And until the next match, I guess I'll see you next time. Take care.